want to talk about a very interesting man and his work. John W. Cassell. He served with the U.S. Air Force, the Strategic Air Command, until 1976. He traveled to Europe and North Africa, which is all covered in Crossroads 1969, a very entertaining book. He served with the New Mexico State Police and District Attorney's Office in that state as well. He was also with the Office of the Attorney General of American Samoa. Then in 2006, completing a 25-year career in law enforcement, he retired and is now residing in the Southwest. John's a brilliant man. I really can't say enough about him. And Devilliers County Blues, 1972, is a brilliant book. He's a very adventurous man, or at least he was in his younger days. But when it comes to writing, he's a master craftsman. What can I say? He is. He has this knack of just taking you in, and you just get caught up in the story, and you just can't put that book down. He's amazing. He has this wonderful talent that while he's going through a very serious situation, he can add a sense of humor to it. You can see a brilliant wit there. I know in Crossroads, I was sometimes crying and laughing at the same time when I read it. But I primarily want to focus on Devilliers County Blues, 1972. It's one of 4 books in a series. And, of course, it began with Crossroads, 1969. And then there's Odyssey, Hell's Quest, and Aquarian Tragedy. Devilliers County Blues is a story of great courage and love. And there are actually 4 characters, but after returning from Africa, after the tragic death of his girlfriend Nancy, who died from a blood clot that was received from an injury that she suffered when this bully by the name of Rashid slammed her up against a rock. But this is all covered in Hell's Quest. John, of course, was restless and grieving, and he takes off across the country and ends up in Wheeling, well, on the outskirts of Wheeling, West Virginia. He's knocked out cold and kidnapped. And to his horror, he awakens one day, days later, in a Texas insane asylum, and has been charged in the murder of a police officer. I mean, this is just incredible. It's not happening, but it is. The story moves swiftly, and it's full of action. And John's characters are very believable. Like I said, there's 4 main ones, but very diverse individuals. All of them of which are victims of organized crime in a human warehouse scheme. Against almost impossible odds, these 4 band together and fight back to gain their freedom. The plot is brilliant, imaginative. Cassell depicts a vivid portrait of the legal system in 1972. I mean, he's really good. He has a brilliant knack of grabbing you into the story, like I said, and keeps you hanging in suspense. He never fails to entertain. He also has the uncanny ability, like I said, to make you laugh at the same time when you're crying. He's definitely a rare, wonderful talent. You can't go wrong with John's books. I want to read a little bit. On the back of the book, it was the very beginning of Valentine's Day, 1972. Valentine's Day had been a disaster for the last 2 years. I guess all of that was nothing compared to the blood-soaked minutes just past. I felt nauseated, but there was too much to do. Our window of opportunity was shorter than even the pessimistic 30 minutes we had previously estimated. It was down to the speed we were capable of going right this minute. Toby and Consuelo had no doubt turned in the alarm. I made a mental note to reload my shotgun at the first opportunity. Like the odds, Dex? Shit, man. I was just going fishing when these bastards decided to turn me into a savage once again. They get what they deserve, but they'll never take me alive. I reached out in the dark and patted him on the shoulder. He had said it all. Okay, in the middle of the book, I'm going to read. This is from the New York Sphere. Salt and Pepper Gang kidnaps young reporter. Release him with photograph and warning. We're running out of patience. They tell multimillionaire. See his exclusive story here by Billy Wainwright, UPI staff writer. March 17th, 1972. Leaving the UPI Bureau offices yesterday evening, this reporter was grabbed from behind, thrown into an automobile, blindfolded, and taken on a journey of terror. Efforts to get my kidnappers to say what they wanted with me were met by a female voice with Puerto Rican accent snarling, "We're the Salt and Pepper Gang, sweetie, and we punish fools who get too curious." Was I to be food for the fabled Latin sexual urge of the gang's female member? I didn't know, but was frightened as never before. It turned out the gang didn't want me as a hostage, but as a bearer of their revolutionary message to the decadent capitalist oppressor, Jared Fisher. A note was stuffed in my hand, along with a photograph of the gang's remaining known female hostage, Lindsay Matheny, reputed to be one of the country's most promising financial geniuses. The photograph shows her in rags, bound and gagged, forced to perform several domestic labor. Servile domestic labor. The message, made of letters cut from newspapers, was chillingly brief. This is how we use your expert in the daytime, Fisher. We're running out of patience. Send Joe Fallon in person to Sergeant Garriglia, Manhattan South detectives within 5 days. Further instructions will begin then. We mean business. I was then taken to a street corner in Midtown Manhattan and dumped out, still blindfolded and bound. I never even got a look at him. When contacted by this reporter, Sergeant Garriglia told me he had no idea why the gang had targeted him in the recipient of their demands. He added, however, that he would do all he could to bring about the safe return of Miss Matheny, whose kidnapping has shocked the world. Okay, my apologies for the mispronunciations of the names. But anyway, that's just an excerpt of the book. It's a fantastic book. I recommend it to anybody. If you want a book that keeps you on the edge of your seat, keeps you entertained, you cannot go wrong with John W. Cassell's Devilliers County Blues, 1972. Thank you.